Vanderbilt finds its third offensive lineman in the class of 2026. Man, they are rolling. And so are we.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, yo, welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks for making us part of your day. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Shout out to the everydayers. You guys make everything possible. Hope you guys had a great 4th of July weekend. We're back, and it's going to be a huge show, but we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Now, you did hear me say that this is a huge episode. We're kicking off the post 4th of July run until training camp series of episodes. We're going to kick it off with yet another commit. This time again, shall I say, on the offensive line. We're going to talk about that. We're going to discuss why the Charleston Southern game is important. Yeah, it's important. Believe me. And Trent Hudson has a chance to make a major impact on this team as a transfer coming in from Mississippi State by way of New Mexico State. And as a Vandy State Aggie door, this is a huge transfer because he has that chemistry. We'll break that down a little bit and what kind of impact he can make on this season. And the biggest thing, though, is what I said earlier. Clark Lea lands another big commit, and Vanderbilt football continues to build in the trenches, landing its third offensive line commit. Mitchell Smith, the second at the tackle position. Now, why is this important? Because the way Vanderbilt plays offensive line is unique. It's unique because they play with a strong tackle and a quick tackle. And they just landed the quick tackle in Trip Skews. Now they land the strong tackle in Mitchell Smith. Now, Mitchell Smith is coming to us over FSU in Alabama, decided coming out of Picayune High School in Mississippi, decided he wanted to come to Vanderbilt, likes what Coach K, Coach Nady, Coach Kill, and Coach Beck are doing offensively. Coach Nady and Coach K, the position coaches, and then, of course, Tim Beck and Jerry Kill are coordinate the whole thing. So what I love about this kid is he's a quintessential strong tackle. You watch him play, and you're like, immediately, because Coach K does what he does with the strong side and quick side, this guy, you can immediately say strong side. The way he comes off the rock, the way he punches, the way his base, all of his run fundamentals. He's great at drive blocking, down blocking. He comes with great size and power. He has a mean streak. He will finish blocks. He has a nasty, nasty streak. Now, these are just his sophomore highlights. I have not seen his junior highlights. They are not public knowledge unless you watched Picayune High School live and in person. You don't see his junior highlights. But, man, I love this kid. He's going to be a strong tackle. Great run block fundamentals. And the scary part is this. He is still developing athletically, just like Skews. The ceiling is very, very high. All right, he's still developing his speed. He's still developing into his body. He's still working on his pass fundamentals. I don't think Picayune. I think I said that right. Picayune. I don't think they pass the ball a whole lot. And you'll run into a lot of high schools that don't. So there would be a lot of kids that are stunted in their pass setting fundamentals. I guess you could say he is, but he will definitely get better at that for sure. I think that's going to be a point of development as he goes through his senior year, and when he comes into Vanderbilt, he'll have to fit right into that. But the things he does extremely well, they're going to take advantage of, and the fact that, again, if you're joining me for the very first time and you're trying to figure out what does it mean for a strong tackle and quick tackle, it just means that those, very simply put, it's a lot of complex definitions, but what it really means is this. On the strong side, it means you're big, you're good at drive blocking, you're good at down blocking, and you're good at sealing and walling, and you're good enough at pass setting to where they're going to slide to you, and so you're going to be put in an advantage there. The quick side means you're best at reach blocking, you're best at blocking on the second level. You can even pull on counters. You're going to be good at that. You're going to be good just moving in space, and you're just going to have overall better feet and better pass setting. So people will, coaches will feel good. The offensive coordinator will feel good or better about, maybe sliding away from you and possibly putting you on an island in pass pro because you're going to be the best pass protection offensive lineman. Doesn't necessarily mean like it goes away from the traditional right side, left side, because your traditional left tackle is your more athletic guy that can pass set. They're going to try to set up to where that guy's on the left side most of the time, is my guess on pass pro without being in the meeting rooms. But this guy, Mitchell Smith, I was excited about him before. He had taken a visit to Florida State the last we had checked and probably had a pretty good time down there, but probably had his best time at Vanderbilt, decided he was going to be a Commodore. So welcome to West End Mitchell Smith. Like I said, the offensive line, I think one of the things that not getting an offensive line commit in the last class was a big deal. And I think Clark Lea and crew, they were like, we need these guys in the pipeline. We need to build depth, continue building depth at that position, and not getting high school offensive linemen is a very, very bad thing, even though it's a very tough position to evaluate. It's a very difficult position to develop because you just don't know what you're going to get most of the time. Some of the guys you think are going to be slam dunks aren't. Some of the guys you think have no shot or no business being a Division I lineman become all pro later on in their careers. Like you just never, and there's a lot of things, there's a lot of scenarios in between, but you just never know. But it's always good to be able to try to develop those guys and get as much as you can. And with the transfer portal, it's not as arduous as a project because you're not necessarily stuck with them. You can process them. They'll probably see the writing on the wall, but I think it's great to be able to get these guys in the system. I think it's great to be able to eventually be able to mix and not have to get a full portal offensive line every single time. I think it'd be good to mix in some of these high schoolers, but you have to have guys that are used to and understand what Coach K, what Coach Nady want to do. Because it's apparent that unless they get some sort of, non-turndownable job offer somewhere, I think they're here to stay. And I know I took a little there was a little snippet of a hint of a rumor that Coach K might be thinking about retirement. I took that and ran with it, but apparently that was wrong. I don't think he's going to be. That was probably a little bit early of me, or probably a little bit jumping the gun of me to talk about that. But they're going to be here for a while. That's the point. And they're going to develop these guys, and they're going to get guys in here that understand. And I think this is going to be a really good duo, honestly. I think this year's offensive line is going to prove that this philosophy of playing offensive line is going to absolutely work. And you're going to start to see more offensive linemen say, hey, I can go here and I can showcase on both sides, but I'm going to do everything that I'm great at. And I'm going to be able to develop the things I'm not so great at, but I'm not going to be forced to do them and forced to have those be my primary mode of whatever. This is going to be a great opportunity for these offensive linemen to really develop at a more rapid pace because they're enhancing what they do, bolstering what they don't do very well, and then it's going to be all good. And you're going to have a great offensive line with great skill sets, and you're going to be able to construct your offensive line. You're going to construct your run schemes around what they can do best. Now, the strong guys are going to have to learn how to pull occasionally. The quick guys are going to have to be able to down block, which offensive linemen, they're usually they can cross train pretty well. They can do most things anyway, but they're just better at this set of things versus that set of things. And I think that's where this philosophy is great. And when it first came about many, many years ago, that was kind of the thought behind it. And then it went to a traditional right tackle, left tackle. But what ended up happening was your traditionally strong tackle types ended up playing right tackle. Your traditional quick tackle guys ended up playing left, but you got one-sided. This allows you to not have to be one-sided with what you want to do. Like if you want your quick guard and quick tackle to be on the right and pull left, you just flip the formation, and they just move. If they can get used to that, which I think they can, I think they will, it's a great philosophy because they just bump over, they pull, they bump over, they pull. And defenses, they can get a beat on it all they want, but there's some things that are built in to kind of counter that, to where if they jump what they think is going to happen, you can counter that and really put them in a bind. So Mitchell Smith bring in great size, great power, and great ability to this offensive line. I'm very excited for him. I'm very excited to get him. And I think this is going to make, Vanderbilt's offensive line, you're going to be able to brag and talk about the depth of this offensive line. And Clark Lea is making sure that this is no longer a weak point when people talk about the Vanderbilt Commodores. You're going to be able to say, hey, Vanderbilt, they have a solid to good to great offensive line. That's what they're building towards. That's the ladder they're climbing. And you're going to be able to say that about the defensive line because that's what wins in this league. So there you go. But Trent Hudson, speaking of people that can shine, speaking of newcomers that add depth, Trent Hudson, is he somebody that can shine at wide receiver? What's that going to take? Like this position is there for the taking. They need an alpha dog. Can Trent Hudson be that guy? I don't know, but I'll tell you next. All right, but first, we're going to talk about game time. Yeah, because there's been a time where you've decided last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family. Maybe it's game day. Maybe you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands instead of watching on TV. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without all the stress. And with the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, and even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it all possible. And the way the Braves are playing is probably even easier. The zone deals are probably the greatest that they're ever going to be. So take advantage of that too. And Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. So Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse the app for an exciting and upcoming MLB game. If you're into Braves versus Orioles, I don't know why you would be, but if you are, you can get good tickets there. But Game Time has last-minute tickets, zone deals, and big savings like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups, seat views right in the app before you buy, and you know exactly where you're going to be. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers. Can't do this without you. Glad you can make it. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC is the place to go. Chris Gordy is tremendous. He does a phenomenal job covering the SEC with his perspective and his interviews of the quarterbacks from around the league at the Manning Passing Academy. You should really check those out. But what you should really check out as well is I think you're gonna notice something about Vandy's passing game. Number one, yes, it's going to go through Eli Stowers. Okay, let's just put that out there. Yes, that's going to happen. But most importantly is Vandy's going to need another guy. I'm just going to be straight up. They're going to need another guy. Who's that going to be? Trent Hudson, Junior Sherrill, Chance Fitzgerald. Let's talk about Trent Hudson. Let's talk about him as a candidate. He's going to be a breakout candidate, or he has a chance to be a breakout candidate, because who is that going to be at this position? There's a lot of candidates. But here's the thing about Trent Hudson. He has good size on the outside. He's 6'3". He led the Aggies in touchdowns 2 seasons ago. Didn't do a ton for Mississippi State. I don't think he had as much opportunity, and I think their team was just pretty bad. But he's going to be a great red zone target, I think. That's going to be where he fits in the best. He has that built-in chemistry with Diego Pavia already, so that's a plus. I'm wondering if it's like riding a bike, they could just pick up right where they left off. That would be cool if it was. But here's what he's going to need to do, okay? Because honestly, he has a chance to make an impact from the jump. But what he needs to do is this. Anytime there's a big play that needs to happen, big down and distance, big situation, whatever it is. Some people doing some fireworks out there. He's got to be reliable, Mr. Reliable. Ball's in the air, it's his. You get inside the 20, hey, let's put it on the back pylon. Let's let Trent go run a corner route, run a fade route, run a post route, put it on the front, put it on the near upright, let him go get it. But you've got to be able to take advantage of his size, and you've got to be able to make contested catches in the red zone like that. You get in the red zone, and you have a guy like Trent Hudson. You've got to convert those to touchdowns. They had some of those opportunities with Quincy Skinner. They couldn't quite get it done consistently. He showed flashes, but they couldn't get it done consistently. Junior Sherrill is not that guy. Junior Sherrill is not the jump ball guy. I don't know that Vandy has one. But Trent Hudson being 6'3", that helps. And he can run. I think Fitzgerald might be tall too. But Hudson has a chance to do that. He needs to be able to stretch the field a little bit, or stretch the field well enough. Vanderbilt has some field stretch guys. I don't know who all that is, who's going to emerge as the field stretcher. Trent Hudson certainly has a chance to put his name in the ring for that. But to be honest, I think if he's going to be that true X receiver, or what you would call an X receiver, which is an on-the-ball dominant guy, he needs to be that. Physical. Dominant. In the run game, he needs to dominate those corners, blocking them. He needs to be able to catch, run over some people, be a heavy ball carrier, and throw a shoulder into somebody and make somebody not want to tackle him. He's got to make contested catches. He's going to have to catch a slant and be able to drag somebody for 2, 3, 4, 5 yards. He's going to need to be able to go up and get one in the red zone. He's going to need to be able, if a big play is needed to be made, he's going to have to do it. That third and 12, he's going to need to catch a ball at the sticks and fall for a first down. Like, he's going to need to be able to make those plays. There's several opportunities that Vandy had last year. They didn't make plays, and they had a chance to, where a ball would go in and out of the hands. You can't have that. You can't have that happen. And if Trent Hudson wants to make a major impact, and if this offense wants to take it to the next level, this is what they have to have. We know Eli Stowers can do it, but he can't be the only one. Eli Stowers is most definitely going to be that guy, but you need another one, because defenses are like, oh, let's see. They don't have anything else. They don't have another guy out there. So we're just gonna devote 2 or 3 bodies to Eli Stowers and making sure that he can't get off the line, and he's going to be harassed every step of his route through the catch. We're going to force you to beat us with the other guys, which we know you can't. That's going to be what defenses come in doing. That's going to be the sentiment against Vanderbilt. Hey, lock down Eli Stowers, and you've locked down the passing game. They have nobody else. That is what's being said. Trent Hudson can change that. Junior Sherrill can change that. Joseph McVay, you name it. But right now, I'm focused on Trent Hudson because he's big, 6'3", has chemistry with Diego Pavia. I think those built-in advantages will give him a legitimate shot at being an impact receiver and providing that for this Vanderbilt offense and providing that spark that this passing game needs to be able to help everything else go. Because once the passing game was fairly non-existent for long stretches of time last year, the run game couldn't do anything. And guess what? When you can't run and you can't throw, guess what you don't do? You don't get first downs. Guess what you don't do? You don't burn clock. Guess what you also don't do? You don't score points. All three of those things are terrible for your chances at winning. And if they want to win, they have to move the ball. They have to get first downs. And in order to get, and then in their process of getting a few first downs, eventually it's going to go into the end zone. They're going to get points somehow, some way. So they've got to be able to figure out ways to do that. Trent Hudson, I think, can go a long way in helping that cause, right? Helping that cause. So I'm looking forward to game one. And I know it's just Charleston Southern, but why is it important? Well, we're going to tell you next. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're wrapping up the show here. Thank you to the everydayers. We are on social media at Locked On Vandy, wherever you can find us, wherever you find your podcast or YouTube, whichever you prefer. Like, subscribe, follow, all the above. Tell your friends, check it out, either the audio version while you're driving, on your errands or making your runs, or you're sitting at your desk and you can't watch anything. Flip on the Spotify version and just listen, just bask in the Vanderbilt Commodore talk. That's what Nashville needs. Nashville needs a great college football team to get behind. All right? Don't need to borrow one from Knoxville. Don't need to borrow one from Memphis. Nashville has one right there in his backyard to support. Now, just got to give them a reason to support. Right? Vandy has to return the favor. Vanderbilt has to return the favor. Nashville wants to root for it. Nashville wants to support it. Nashville wants to get rabid behind a cause. It just is, that's just facts. But they can't get rabid behind a cause if there's nothing to get rabid about. That's why this Charleston Southern game is important. Honestly, I think it's I think it's going to, I don't know if it's going to necessarily set the tone for the entire season, but I think if you get off on the wrong foot, I think it's going to put you in trouble, because I think you have a chance for either you do everything you're supposed to do and you win the game how you're supposed to win the game, or you go above and beyond and you get a huge confidence, you get a major confidence boost and you go into the Virginia Tech game riding high, or you play sluggish, sloppy, you eke out a win, and you don't really know, or you don't really feel good about where you are. Those are the scenarios of this Charleston Southern game. And I know on the schedule, in the grand scheme of things, this is an FCS opponent. It's just not one of those games that you're looking forward to. Like, it's a SEC Network Plus game. Okay, so take that into consideration. It's an SEC Network Plus game, so like the excitement of it being a major TV deal is not there. I get it, but it is important for them to get off on the right foot, because the first one's always important, because it's a way for your offense to showcase, okay, here's where we're at. Okay, it's a way to get all the kinks out from training camp, because you know that you're going to come out of training camp with a bunch of those things. Timing issues, you're still trying to find wide receivers, and it's going to be a good way to get depth and build depth and get quality reps for your down the line guys. Like, if you take care of business the way you're supposed to and above and beyond, Berlowitz gets reps, Drew Dickey gets reps, Chase Gillespie gets reps, or whoever else is down the line, a running back gets reps. You get all of your receivers in to get reps. You get some down the line offense and defensive linemen to get reps. Like, you get a bunch of people that would normally never get reps. They get reps, and it's outstanding. And that's a scenario to where you're going to benefit from taking care of business in this game. So as a true opponent, I mean, it's not as important really to I don't think we have to break down who's a playmaker for them. I think it's kind of interesting to see who's going to be good. I always kind of like to see the FCS teams. I think it's interesting as a fan of a team, whether you're a fan of Vandy, whether you're a fan, if you're a South Carolina fan dropping in, or, a Tennessee fan dropping in, or whatever, whoever you're a fan of, if you like multiple teams, it's always kind of interesting to see how the FCS team that you played against, or even like Georgia State or Utah State, or in last year's case, Ball State, it's always interesting to see and follow what they do throughout the course of the season to know, okay, is this guy really an impact player or not, or whatever that might be. It's always interesting kind of to loosely follow that team and just to kind of see how they're doing, check in on them, right? But that's a sidebar. Here's what I think is important versus Charleston Southern. It's not necessarily going to be your game plan is not necessarily going to be stacked with, okay, you take care of this guy and this guy, right? I think you got to start fast and stay sharp, right? And you got to do it for 60 minutes, no matter who's in the game. It's paramount for the confidence of the team. Like I said, you start fast, you start sharp, and you stay that way. That's gonna be the habits you build. If you're an inherently sloppy team and you start slow, you're basically setting the tone of, okay, we're gonna start slow every game because we can't get our blank together to start the game, and that's gonna really hurt you against Virginia Tech. It's going to really hurt you against South Carolina, and so on down the road. So you got to teach yourself, and you got to learn how to start fast, how to start and stay sharp, and do that for 60 minutes. No matter if it's Drew Dickey in the game, throw into Bosky Barrett, whoever, I don't know. But whoever's in the game, they've got to be sharp. They've got to be fat, and they got to play extremely well right out of the gates. Offensively, show improvement in the scheme and execution. I think offensively, show the wrinkles you've been working on. Obviously you don't have to give away too much, but show that you're progressing as an offense. Show that your execution is a lot cleaner, which I think at times it wasn't throughout the season. And of course, the defense. I think you need to be dominant from the get-go. I think right out of the gates, I think Charleston Southern just does not need to have a chance to do anything in that game. So that's going to be some keys, just some general keys, I think, that are important for Vanderbilt in a game like this. Okay, because I can sit here and say, okay, Charleston Southern was a 1-11 team last year. The only team they beat was Furman, who was ranked 15th in the FCS at that point. But they have a new offensive coordinator, and their head coach is the defensive coordinator. So they have a new offensive coordinator, so they have a new way of doing things offensively. But they added, let's see, here's some things to know about Charleston Southern. I'll give you a little bit. And I'll do a more extensive preview during the week of that game, where I might even talk to their play-by-play guy. But they had a 3-star wide receiver, Kevin Boone. He was ranked pretty well in the state of South Carolina in his recruiting class. Caden Clay as a quarterback. I don't know who's going to be starting for them right now, but if they add a dual threat guy, it's probably going to be him. They're probably looking to give him some significant playing time. And then they added some offensive linemen as well. Here's a stat that you love to see when you're talking about offensive linemen. Ramel Parker comes in as a guard interior lineman. He had 150 pancake blocks in his senior seasons at South Sumter High School in South Carolina. So that's a stat. When you're breaking down an offensive lineman, you're like, and they mention the fact that he has triple-digit pancakes. That's outstanding. That's a fun stat. Defensively, they added 4 defensive linemen, 7 DBs, and 2 linebackers in their signing class. They're going to be real young. But if I think they're going to cause a lot of trouble defensively. They finished 5th in the OVC in total defense. They were outstanding, at least on that side. They couldn't score points at all, but they were good defensively. They could keep you out of the end zone fairly well as long as they could. So this is going to be a fun team. It's going to be. I think you're going to see some vast improvement from Charleston Southern. I'm looking for them to be a middle of the road fringe playoff team in FCS next year. So that'll be interesting, and they'll give Vanderbilt all they can handle. But that game's important because you got to start fast, and you got to keep the pedal on the ground all 60 minutes, no matter who's in the game. You can keep the pedal to the ground with Drew Dickey or St. Hilaire quarterback. Who cares? I don't know. Whoever's in a quarterback. It could be third, fourth guy. It could be your third, fourth string. Everything. You got to pedal to the metal. You got to play with that intensity the entire game. So that game's important because it starts the season. It gets you off on the right foot. Very simply put. But speaking of getting off on the right foot, I hope we get this week off on the right foot, I should say. And we'll see you back here next time on the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Be sure to check out Locked On Portal with Brian Smith as well if you need a non-team specific show to listen to on the Locked On Network. And of course, the entire list of catalog of SEC shows on this network are all incredible. You should check them all out. But until next time, anchor down, behave yourself. Peace.